Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Shelley Speaks Truth, right here on 2rawfortv.tv. I am your host, Shelley, here along with my co-host, Dre, and welcome to the show. Now, if you are here for the first time, welcome. I hope you do enjoy tonight's show, and I hope that you will return right back here with us next week, same time, same place. Now, what we do around here is we usually stream from a few other platforms, but only for a portion of the show. So if you would like to see the entirety of the show, you will have to come over to 2Raw for TV once those other platforms end. And I believe it is usually Twitter. Well, it's not called Twitter anymore. X. X, Instagram, and Facebook are usually the other platforms that we're streaming from for a short portion of the show. But again, like I said, if you would like to see the entirety of the show, which I'm hoping that you would have to come over to 2rawfortv.tv, and that is the number 2, raw, the number 4, tv.tv.
So you're just going to leave YouTube?
Oh, I don't know how I forgot about YouTube because I'm on YouTube like every day. So I don't even know how I would forget YouTube. So yeah, YouTube as well. So again, YouTube, X, Twitter, Facebook, but only for a short while. And once those stream in, please come and join us on 2rawfortv.tv. Again, that is the number 2, raw, the number 4, tv.tv. And again, welcome. And also, whatever platform you're on right now, go ahead and share the show. Go ahead and share the show with others so we can get everybody in here. Because tonight we do have something not relatively, in my opinion, extremely serious to talk about. If you did see the thumbnail, you know that we will be discussing the COVID vaccine and some revelations that just recently came out in a Senate hearing about the COVID vaccine. And I guess I can't say this is odd because the mainstream media has been doing a horrible job at covering this. There's a number of things that are happening right now, but in my opinion, this is one of the most serious things that has happened within the past couple of weeks. Not even the past couple of weeks, about a week or so, the Senate hearing happened on, well, I'll say almost about 2 weeks now. On May 21st is when this Senate hearing happened. And I actually happened to catch some of it live on YouTube as it was happening. And it was kind of surprising to me that more people weren't talking about it, especially in this day and age where, information hits the press really quickly, at least the social media press. And a lot of people over the years have been talking about the COVID vaccine. So to not see a lot of people sharing this on their timelines, at least not on the platforms that I'm on, which is a shock to me because a lot of the people that I'm friends with and, who I converse with on social media, they're pretty well informed. So I don't know if the media is just doing such a great job at hiding this, but I haven't seen a lot of people talking about it. So on May 21st, the Senate did have a hearing where doctors did come in and testify, and they were discussing, the fact that there has been a relatively large amount of COVID deaths that no one is aware of. Unless you're a person that has been doing extensive research on the vaccines. But many years ago, I want to say about 2008, 2009, I've been a person that has been weary of vaccines. And they say that not all vaccines are dangerous, which I can go along with that. I don't believe that all vaccines are dangerous, not the ones that they've had time to study and, things like that. But
all vaccines aren't dangerous to everybody.
That's a better way of putting it. All vaccines aren't dangerous to everyone. But they could be. It could be dangerous to someone. It just depends on the person. And their health conditions and things like that. And that's why it's so important to be able to take these vaccines through vigorous studies. And with COVID being such a large pandemic, I guess they felt like they needed to rush the vaccine. I don't know. I can't speak for these people what their reasoning was for giving so many people worldwide a vaccine that they didn't really have any time to research, other than the fact that I just personally feel like they didn't care what the outcome would be. But doctors did come in, and it was a pretty heated hearing because they just came out and said that the public was largely unaware of the full extent of the risk of the COVID vaccine. And that's the drum that a lot of people have been beating since they rolled out the vaccines. A lot of people, even if they believed in vaccines, they were saying things like, how are they going to have this vaccine ready in a year when, vaccines, they're usually studying for 10 years or more before they, release them to the public. So that was a concern of people. Some people were just saying, hell no, I'm not taking a vaccine. I don't trust these people. There were concerns about the type of vaccine it is. And, we went through the whole thing with people were saying that this vaccine was going to alter your DNA.
Well, remember, you got to remember, the whole definition of vaccine got changed because of this thing. Mm. You got to remember that. Like, we reported that on the morning show. The actual definition, because what it came out as wasn't the original. It wasn't under the definition of what a vaccine was, but that it came out as a vaccine. And as time kept on going, and people, the so-called conspiracy theorists and stuff kept on questioning and doing much research, and it came out that this thing was a messenger RNA, which was actually an injection, which was able to send messages to your DNA, which follows up on what you just said. It could change your DNA. People were saying it could change your DNA. Mm-hmm. Well, not quite change your DNA, but it has the ability to send messages.
To alter it?
What? No, just send messages to it.
Oh, okay.
Basically just telling it what to do. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that in itself, for me, was a problem. Mm-hmm. Right? Because if you could send a message to my DNA to tell it to fight off this virus, what else can you send? What other messages can you send? That's my biggest problem. Mm-hmm. Of the whole thing. But they had to change the definition.
Well, I mean, when you have something that has the ability to send messages to your DNA, I would think that you probably would need to change the definition, because I don't know if there was ever anything like that before the COVID vaccine.
No. With that being said, right? It's how can I say this? Guys, if you're watching me on like Instagram, if you're watching this on like Instagram, Facebook, you probably can't see me, but I am here in studios, and if you are on tour off of TV, then you'll be able to see the full view of everything that's going on. But like I was saying, they definitely had to change the definition, right? Yeah. I lost track of what I was going to say. What were you saying about that?
No, I was just saying, I mean, it would, if they change the definition, because this vaccine is unlike anything that we've ever seen, then that part of it would make sense to me. Right,
because it's groundbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
Right, it was definitely groundbreaking. Like, we've never seen anything like this. Right. To where scientists can now go in and send messages to your actual DNA, your actual makeup, right? Mm-hmm. So, that's what I was gonna say. Like, the science is good, right? Science is good, but with good you have bad. Mm-hmm. In anything, I don't care what it is.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, if you can do so much great with these things, what happens when it gets in the wrong hands? And I think the problem is the wrong hands might have been involved too early.
Yeah, that's the other part of it. With people saying this whole thing was fishy from the get go, even how COVID came about, which was another big reason why I won't say no one because that wouldn't be true, but people had their suspicions, and there was a good number of people who did. And when you think back to COVID, man, that was a crazy time to be living.
It was crazy, bro.
You know, people were losing their livelihood all because they didn't want to take a vaccine, and that's another thing we had never seen before.
Right.
No one was ever fired from a job because they didn't want to take a vaccine. I remember when I worked at Memorial Hospital when I was in Florida. And every year they gave us the flu shot. They were, hey, give me
They
that
offered it.
because I don't take those shots.
Right, they offered it.
Right, they offered it.
Right.
But it wasn't a requirement. And that's another thing that raised a lot of eyebrows. Like, why are they going so hard to try to force everybody to get this vaccine? Now, obviously, you have the people that say, okay, this is a worldwide pandemic. Why do you think they're forcing people to get the vaccine? And I guess from a surface level, yeah, I would see why people would go along with that.
If you were if you were really watching paying attention, if you were getting all your information from the news, mm-hmm. and disregarding what your actual eyes was seeing in your real life.
Right. Just like with everything that was happening at that time, it was a crazy time to be alive. And in certain places, they were just going insane. And I'm speaking from the United States of America. We've seen things happening here that we never seen happen before. Like, people were literally in places like California where people were literally made to stay in their house for almost the whole day. Just a lot of crazy things happening.
People held away from their dying family members.
Yeah.
You can't go see your dying family member in the hospital. Your family member is dying in the hospital. They can't see you. You can't see them.
Entire high school classes not being able to have a real graduation.
Like, how draconian was that, yo?
It was some crazy things happening during the pandemic, man. Like, wow. We really but it was an inside look at how things could really get and how the government has the ability to lock us down under the pretense of safety and health, public health. You can literally be forced to stay in your house, not being able to go anywhere, can't see your family. Like you said, you could have dying family members, and you can't even get on a plane to get to them, or it was just crazy.
You weren't allowed to go in the hospital.
No.
Once they were in ICU mm-hmm. from COVID, you weren't allowed.
I remember that. I actually remember that. I remember my sister's ex-husband's daughter, she got COVID, and she went to the ER, and once she was inside, it was locked down.
Right.
Could not go in to see her.
Right.
For anything.
And then it became, during that time, it became that with kind of like everything. Mm-hmm. I remember taking you to the hospital in that time, and normally I would just go in with you. The doctor would come, and I'd be, because I'm your husband, so I could be there as long as you're not saying, hey, you don't want me there.
Right.
I wasn't allowed to go inside.
Mm-mm. Nope.
It was madness.
That happened on a few occasions, not with me personally, but other people we took to the hospital. I remember we took Nikki to the hospital. We couldn't go in. It was, like I said, it was a crazy thing to witness if you were here to see it. And I believe most of us were here, unless you're a newborn baby. So we all lived through that, okay? And it was crazy.
Kids missed out on graduations.
The class of 2020 got a bad rap, man. They didn't have a prom, no graduation, all the other things that other kids got to enjoy their last year of school. It was just, it was a crazy time, like I said. And when you think about it, and with all the information that's coming out now, it's like, damn, these people did all that, and it was really
foo-foo.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna be truthful about it, it was really all for nothing.
No, it wasn't for nothing. It really.
Well, not on that from their perspective,
Okay.
but for us, the public, the general public, it's like we went through hell for whatever game they were playing with us, and that's just the reality of what it is.
And honestly, I feel like that's the most important thing that people got to take away from this. Is like, okay, well, we went through. They put us through all of that. Why? Like, important questions need to be asked. Why? Like, seriously, why?
I mean, I want to get into the video here in a second,
Oh, snap.
so we can hear.
Thank you for
hear
reminding me.
from the mouths of these people who, and it's the video's kind of long.
Thank you for reminding me.
But I think that we should probably play the video through because it's so much important information. Even in this clip, now the hearing itself, I think is about 3 hours long. And I would advise everyone to go and watch it. I got to go back and watch it. I'll probably watch it in pieces because, like I said, it's 3 hours long. But as it was happening, I was actually watching it live because I was watching something else, and for some reason, this popped up. And I haven't been doing really any research on COVID because, I mean, COVID was like almost 5 years ago. So, no, COVID was 5 years ago. It's 2025.
Yeah, 5 years ago.
Okay, so 5 years ago, and you know, it's kind of the hysteria behind it has died down, and so there's a whole bunch of other things happening. So most of us are not really sitting around researching COVID at this time, but for some reason it popped up in my I don't know what you call it on YouTube. I guess suggestions or whatever. It came up on the screen and it was live. I'm like, okay, COVID vaccine.
Came up on your timeline.
So I'm like, okay, let me click on this because this is a Senate hearing that's happening right now. So we're gonna go ahead and get into the video because I'm pretty sure whoever's watching would like to hear from the people who were actually there and talking about this.
And again, if you're watching this on like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or anything like that, you might want to come over because first off, you're not going to be able to see everything, and second off, I don't know when they're going to shut you off, so you might want to come over. Let's get into this video though.
Of all the deaths we examined, and we re-reviewed them, we had an adjudication committee, we had ways of arbitration, deciding on did the vaccine cause death. The answer is, of these cases that came in for autopsy after vaccination, 73.9% of individuals, it was determined that the vaccine was the cause of death.
September 27th, 2021, you will push the vaccine. You will push it in pregnant women and follow all the HHS criteria. And if you don't, we will destroy you.
I've presented at the FDA advisory meetings. I've advised companies for decades on this, so I know the regulatory science very well. When a product definitely results in death, and there are thousands of peer-reviewed papers on this, Governor, the COVID vaccines, in some people, sadly, result in death. Some on the very first day they take the shot. That must be a black box warning on the product immediately. I just checked the package inserts for the currently available products, the ones that Senator Blumenthal wants to pursue. Sounds like Governor wants to still pursue these. Our FDA still wants them to be administered. They still don't have the word death in the package insert. As of today, they don't. And so Americans are not fairly informed.
Do you have any doubt in your mind that the COVID injection caused some deaths? I mean, what do you think of the, 38,607 right now listed on VAERS? What do you think the real number is? And do you have any science to back up your opinion?
The best data are autopsies. So in the largest autopsy series published to date, I know because I'm the senior author, of all the deaths we examined, and we re-reviewed them, we had an adjudication committee, we had ways of arbitration, deciding on did the vaccine cause death. The answer is, of these cases that came in for autopsy after vaccination, 73.9% of individuals, it was determined that the vaccine was the cause of death. First author is Holscher and colleagues. He's sitting right behind me.
And again, by FDA's own laws, that should be included on that package insert, correct?
Immediately in 2021, Dr. Carol Tassetta, working with the Daily Cloud, wrote Peter's Marks in the summer of 2023 and said, where's the black box warning? Where is it? No word from Marks.
Dr. Vaughn, you want to weigh in on the informed consent?
Well, the other thing is, I think emergency use authorization, actually by definition, when you fill out the documents for the patient, if they read it, it actually says that they should make sure that they are under no compulsion to get this product. And that is what's so confusing, because even though the product was mandated in the summer, at the end of the summer of 2021, the product on the shelves was still the EUA product. And in that sense, for somebody to be mandated to something that they also have to sign to say that they weren't mandated to do it is kind of hard to do legally.
By the way, that's the subject of a couple of oversight letters in terms of the whole full authorization type of thing. Dr. Thorpe, quickly.
Yes, on informed consent, there was completely the opposite in pregnant women. HHS appears to have captured the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and my research team, including Maggie Thorpe, JD, have proven that with the Freedom of Information Act.
For a few million dollars, correct?
Many $1 million. They captured ACOG. In December of 2020, everybody at ACOG and the other organizations, we're not going to push this vaccine in pregnant women. In the span of a pregnancy, 40 weeks, September 27th, 2021, you will push the vaccine, you will push it in pregnant women and follow all the HHS criteria. And if you don't, we will destroy you and your professional career will take your license away and we will decertify you. That went out to 60,000 OBGYN doctors. So
we probably should have expanded the title of this: corruption of science, federal health agencies, what would you call those? Professional organizations?
These are the three organizations that essentially govern obstetrical care, not just in the United States of America, but the whole world.
By the way, I wanted to ask you, to what extent are the medical journals funded by various conflicting organizations, pharmaceutical companies? I've heard Chinese interests. I mean, are you aware of that? You were talking about the article written by the editors of the New England Journal of Medicine. Yes,
I'm aware of the study by Wen and colleagues, David Daniel Wen, that was just published October 10th of 2024, documenting that 1.06 billion with a B dollars went to the reviewers of the medical journals, of probably the most influential medical journals: New England Journal of Medicine, Lancet, BMJ.
That's coming out of the pharmaceutical industry.
That's correct.
So, Dr. Walscott, as a vaccine injured, do you believe you received informed consent?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, informed consent, and I, as a physician, I believe strongly in informed consent. Informed consent requires true and transparent data. And we can sit here and hear the mantra or the typical narrative of safe, effective, saved millions of lives, but in reality, that's not true.
Well, you all just heard that clip, and like I said, it was a kind of long clip, but I found it to be extremely important to play the entire clip because there was so much information packed into that 6-minute clip where you heard it from the camel's mouth, the horse's mouth, whatever you want to call it. The doctor that just spoke in the end of the video, he said he believes in informed consent. There was no informed consent. They said it was safe and effective for millions of people, and that was just simply not the truth. And I'm sitting here like, that's a crime, if you ask me. Because that's the, I believe that other guy was a doctor as well. He said that in the vaccine inserts, it's supposed to say that the vaccine can cause death. And until this day, it still doesn't say it. Now, my experience with vaccine inserts goes all the way back to 2009. As I was saying, I've always been very vocal about the need for people to be informed about what's in their vaccines. This was long before COVID. And I used to work at a radiology practice, and the radiologist who actually owned the office, he was very, I guess, kind of taken aback about how much knowledge I had about vaccines. And he even asked me, like, who told you that? And I'm like, you have to do your own independent research, because you can't take what these people say as the end all be all. So what would get me into conflict with doctors at doctors' offices when I would take my children in for regular physician's visits would be me questioning them and asking them things that they just didn't feel like they had to answer. And I would tell them all the time, you have to give me this information because I have the right to know. And I even had doctors threaten to, kick my children out the office, saying that if they don't get these vaccines, they can't come back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're not gonna bully me into injecting my child with something and I don't know what's in the shot. And then they would tell this lie about how they don't have the inserts. You have the inserts. They all have to have the inserts. But they want the public to be left in the dark. And I'll play the devil's advocate for a moment, just based off the information that was just displayed in that video.
Well, hold on. Before you start going devil's advocate, right? We've been gone 28 minutes on social media.
Oh.
Right? They got away with fucking fine murder today. Right? So if you're watching on Instagram, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, formerly known as Twitter X, Palmetto would say Elon Musk's toy. Mm. You need to come on over because all those streams are going to end just as soon as I can end each one of them, right? I'm the one that's got to end them, so I'm going to end them one by one, and they're just going to cut off. So come on over, tworawfatv.tv. That's 2, the number 2, raw, RAW, 4, the number 4, TV. Those are letters. Dot. That's a dot. TV.
All right, so hope everyone's gonna go ahead and make that transition over because we still got a few things we need to discuss. And like I said, this is quite possibly one of the most important shows I've had all year. And again, in a society where the media wasn't bought and paid for, physicians weren't bought and paid for, politicians weren't bought and paid for, this would be the #1 story of the year. Because like I said, they drug us through hell during the pandemic, telling us, I mean, you had people, it was even worse than this year's election.